Welcome to the Cutting Room Floor, a Southland Christian Church podcast. Each week, we sit down with our teachers to talk through what didn't make it into Sunday's sermon. Thoughts, stories, or questions that got left on the cutting room floor, but still matter. There's no script, just real conversations that allow us to go deeper into last week's sermon. Thanks for being with us. Let's jump in.
Well, hey everyone, and welcome to the Cutting Room Floor. My name is Neil, and today we are joined by Mr. John Weece. John, thanks for being here, man.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, we're excited. We're in the, whatever week you had mentioned. You said this early this morning. You're like, I don't know what week we're in. We're in the second week of the marriage side of things, but we're in the 10. 11-ish of this mega series that we've done on men, women, and marriage. Yeah. And even at the beginning of this week, I was really excited to kind of know what you were going at. You and I had met a little bit earlier about kind of this whole image that we wanted to have of the journey. But before we get to any of that, what was this like kind of chewing on, you taught once on the men and once on the women, and now we're in the marriage. Mm-hmm. Where were you at as you were kind of preparing for this sermon?
I'm always excited to teach on anything that's relational because it hits a felt need in everyone's head and heart. So it doesn't matter if it's friendship, dating, or marriage. You know your audience is always going to lean in, so that makes it a little bit easier, and you don't have to kind of build the ramp, so to speak. Everybody's already
totally
right there, right out of the gate. And that was true today.
Yeah, it was really fun. In this, we talked about, we're in Ephesians.
Yes.
Ephesians 5:31. Talking about kind of the man and women leave, they become one flesh thing. As you unpacked that, is there anything as you were kind of writing, again, we've talked about this before, 75% of what you write ends up on the cutting room floor. So maybe hit me with some of the things that you kind of weren't able to hit in your sermon, but were on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, so Paul says, a man leaves his mom and dad, a woman leaves her mom and dad, and the two of them become one flesh. This is the mystery, he says. So that oneness, that's definitely sexual terminology. So there is a oneness that happens at the honeymoon, and the two people become one then. But over time, there's a greater sense of oneness that comes emotionally and spiritually.
Yeah.
So that takes a longer time to develop, takes time to get to know the other person.
Yeah.
It's not just a physical union like, some people want it to just be that. And I think when you look at older couples who have been through a lot of things together, you can see it. They think alike. They talk alike. Sometimes they even kind of look alike. It's a weird dynamic.
My wife and I all the time, I'll come out of the bedroom and she's like, you can't wear that. I'm like, why? She's like, look what I'm wearing. We're wearing the same thing. Happens way more now than it did when we first got married.
It's kind of weird. So over time that happens. And so that hit the cutting room floor. I mean, a lot of things hit the floor, but that was one that I just didn't have time to get to.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about in our culture right now, we want everything right now.
Sure.
I want the best. I want to know it all. I want to be the best at whatever right now. And with what you're explaining, there is an immediate oneness of flesh, but then there's a slower oneness, a slow cooker, so to speak, that takes time. And in that, man, I'm so grateful in the journey that my wife and I have been able to have over the last 17 years of being married. We've known each other since we were in 6th grade.
Wow.
So we've had this really long journey. And I look at this now and go, I'm kind of glad we didn't have the slow cooker oneness right now. I like that we had to learn and grow together. And, we said this about our kids when we first had kids, is like, as much as you don't know how to be a parent, this baby doesn't know how to be a baby. They're learning to be a child as much as you're learning to be a parent. And the same thing in marriage. Neither one of you, unless you've had previous marriages, but neither one of you know how to be a spouse to one another. And you may be one in flesh right after the honeymoon, but you got to learn to know what that looks like in your own marriage, to kind of have that give and take. And, there is bumps along the way, like you talked about in your sermon today, but man.
And you change, over time. Yeah. You're not married to the same Emily that you were married to on your wedding. She's a different person and you're different.
She looks the same. It's really annoying.
That's a good thing.
She hasn't changed. I have changed so much. But totally different.
Yeah, and so you have to adjust and adapt to that. And that's a good thing. You should be, morphing. And that's part of the spiritual transformation process. Yeah. And you should want that for your spouse and love that person even deeper as they change. But that creates challenges too. The expectation out of the gate is so broken, and it's not realistic, and our culture taints a lot of that, and Satan loves to taint a lot of that. But over time, there's a familiarity that comes with time. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing.
What's one of the things, if you think about you and Allison, what's one of the kind of your favorite things you've gone, we did not have maybe this connection at the beginning of our marriage, but however many years, how long have you guys been married for?
Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot.
No, I mean, we've been together almost 30 years. So it's crazy. Yeah,
what's something that you're just at now, like, man, this is one of the best parts of marriage?
Yeah, we're dating again, so we're empty nesters.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool stage. And we heard so many people talk about how it was awful, and because the focus was all on their kids, and our focus was primarily on our kids too. But the minute they left, we looked at each other and I was like, dude, we don't have to eat chicken fingers and cheeseburgers every night, like they're hot dogs. We get to go pick our own restaurant. So I'm literally like on a date every time I leave work. I just get so giddy and excited. Even if we're just running errands, I'm with her, she's with me, we're listening to music, cutting up, having a good time. And now that we're several years into empty nesting, we invite our friends into it. So, I mean, we're constantly with people that we just deeply love and enjoy. So it's a very unique stage.
Which you wouldn't have had at the very beginning of
No,
I mean, I remember ours was, we were hanging out with people all the time, but before kids, again, no one knows what they did before kids.
Sure.
I know we always were hanging out with people, and then you have kids, and schedules are just different.
It is. And when the kids come along, you want them to be the priority. You want them to be the emphasis. And so I'm glad we did it the way we did it. Allison, it didn't work, stayed with the kids. And then once they got into high school, she started working again. And we're just in a totally different stage of life than we could have even envisioned. And it is a ton of fun.
Wow. I look forward to those days. Truly, my wife and I talk about this because, every on our anniversary, we'll go away for a weekend or a night or something like that. And I'm like, I love our kids. I do. Sloan and Hadley, if you're listening, Daddy loves you. But I can't wait to be able to just spend my time with them. We laugh. No one makes me laugh more than that woman. No one makes me feel my emotions more than that woman. But man, I can't wait to get to kind of the stage that you're at. It's really exciting. So what else did we leave on the cutting room floor?
Yeah, a lot of it for me centered around some social media stuff that I've seen in a lot of counseling and even in a lot of pre-marriage stuff that we do with young couples, and that it creates these unhealthy connections with people that aren't your spouse. And I had a whole section on it, and I just didn't have time, so I cut it out. But when people experience sadness or anger, some people turn to food for comfort. Some people turn to porn for comfort. People turn to a variety of things, hoping that this will satisfy this emotional crisis. But a lot of people also turn to social media, and what ends up happening is the comparison thing begins to play in, and they see this presentation of an old flame from high school or college, and man, they reach out, they DM each other, and it's not just younger people. You'd be surprised that, they're hooking up and, having conversations without their spouse even knowing it. And just, we got to eliminate that. You should have no secrets from your spouse. And social media gives people a platform and an opportunity to cheat. And a lot of times it's not even physical, it's just emotional, which it's still very, very dangerous. And
emotional is just, we talked about this last week with Scott. There's the emotional pornography and the physical pornography. Those are both really dangerous.
Yeah, really dangerous. And we're seeing an increase in it. So, I wanted to bring it up today, but I just didn't get a chance to.
What's something you would say to maybe some people who have found themselves kind of going down that path, not even knowing, just being like, oh, gosh, Jerry. I haven't heard from Jerry in forever. And then all of a sudden it starts to maybe turn a different way, and they may be at a crossroads right now.
Yeah, I had someone years ago tell me, if there's ever a person that creates that emotional attachment or desire in your heart, you need to tell your spouse their name. I thought, man, that'll kill it. That'll crucify it really fast. If you're scared to do that for upsetting your spouse, you probably just need to cut all ties, change your number. Don't, just in your heart, go, man, I'm never talking to that person ever again. I lean in when they come in the room, or there's a bond that's been created, and I feel an intimacy with them. That should never happen with anyone other than your spouse.
Is that, you said you've seen that, is that more like in the last 10, 15 years?
Oh, yeah. Since social media hit the page, you used to have to really put a lot of effort into connecting with someone. Years ago, you'd have to call them or email them or go see them. And now, there's these secret kind of backdoor ways to get to people. And I'm just seeing an increase in it.
Something to be wary of for sure. What else do we leave on the cutting room floor?
Well, it's funny, the map, the metaphor of the map that I used today, we worked on that, and you were a big part of that, and bringing that metaphor to life. It was fun to see it play out in front of a live audience. I didn't have the Hawaii piece. I mentioned at the very end, Hawaii, and so that was kind of a last-minute addition as of literally last night. I just thought, and I need to tie a bow on this thing a little bit better.
No one wants to stay in San Francisco.
No, and that's why I knew immediately my emails were going to come in from all my friends going, what are you leaving us in California for? No one wants to go there. California's a beautiful state, but it's got some problems. So, just getting people to understand there is a destination for this thing, and Jesus was asked a question about marriage. Will we be married after the resurrection? And he said, man and woman won't be given in marriage again. That's because the purity of love that you experience in your marriage relationship will be the purity of love you have for everyone else. That doesn't mean you won't know your spouse as your spouse in heaven. I mean, that would be a horrible thing to go, man, I went through this whole life with this person I love more than anything, my own life included. So I'll still know her, but at the same love I have for Allison is what I'm going to have for you and everyone else. So the trust issues go away in heaven. Awesome. And it's a profound thought. I didn't get a chance to hit any of that.
Yeah.
So wanted just to set the stage of, hey, Hawaii's the destination, and we want you to get there. And for those of you that haven't seen the sermon yet, it'll make a little bit more sense.
If you haven't seen the sermon yet, we highly suggest stop, press pause on this, go watch the sermon, because the visual of it I thought was really good. As I'm sitting watching you or listening to it today, I was going, man, I would love to expand that map on the front end to go, all right, so
what are you
dating,
leaving?
You've got all these things that you're getting on the boat and you're crossing the ocean. You're really excited because, what does it look like to be married and all that? And the dating aspect, I've had a lot of conversations with younger folks on the team, whatever, just what does dating look like in this day and age? It's scary.
It's different.
As all get out. However, one of the things I'm talking to my kids about, I'm talking to a lot of young people about is where are they getting their ideas of dating? Like, where are they getting their relationship advice from? And there's so many times where like, well, I was talking to my friend. I went, stop, hold on. Your friend, are they the same age as you? Well, yeah. Hold on. Do they have the same experience that you have? Well, yeah. What are you doing talking to them?
Yeah.
They are not the ones that you need to be getting advice from.
Sure.
And I think that's cool that you had it in your sermon as after you've kind of gone through this journey, you get to be an example. And that is a piece. I think this younger generation, not to be like, oh, I'm an old man, but like this younger generation could use some peoples to be a good example for them.
Sure. I think because the family's so busted and most people didn't have a good example, the thing I'm encouraged by with our younger staff and even younger people coming to our church is they're ready to hear a good word of advice or some wisdom. And they're like sponges, man. I mean, if you give them any practical advice, they run with it and do it, which is really awesome. And they're not angry and stubborn like our generation was. So I find a lot of encouragement in that. I did have a metaphor of leaving Europe to come to the United States in this marriage, and what do you need to leave behind?
Sure.
And I had to cut that all out too. So there was a lot of material there. But the concept of going to older people, that's one of the things I had to leave out as well. One of the best pieces of advice Allison and I got when we were dating was pick 5 to 10 older couples, take them to dinner, and ask them 2 questions. The first question, what has worked? Like in your marriage relationship, your dating relationship, what has worked? You'll get incredible ideas from them.
Bring a notepad.
Yeah, man. And we got some traditions that we didn't get from our families that we've worked into our rhythm as a family. Yeah. The second question is, what didn't work? What would you tell us to avoid? That's where there's gold. Like you want to pay attention to that because you don't want to repeat. If you can avoid the pitfalls they fell in, the potholes they tripped up on, man, avoid that and just pay attention to them. So we have older couples in our lives that are just enough ahead of us, whether it's parenting, career, that we love to interact with and kind of model some things after because they're further down the path than we are.
Yeah, that's I love that idea of asking hey, what went great? But also, what went terribly wrong?
Sure.
What was the fire that you all had? I mean, we have been married 17 years, my wife and I could tell you probably way more about what I have gotten wrong than what I've gotten right in that aspect.
Yeah, one of the best pieces of advice we got from a couple, Scott and Debbie, they live in Maryland, and we worked with them in Haiti. She told us one time, she said, I'm not allowed to say anything bad about Scott's family, and Scott's not allowed to say anything bad about my family.
Well,
but if he starts to bring something up, then I can weigh in.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So if he points out something negative that frustrates him, then I can weigh in and go, yeah, I'm with you. That drives me crazy too.
Yeah.
But I can't tee it up. I can't be the initiator of that. And that keeps you from having any degrees of hostility towards family, or even being insecure when you're around them, knowing, oh, my spouse doesn't like it when my mom or dad does that.
Yeah.
So that was a great, simple, tangible piece. And we've tried to exercise that in our marriage. We haven't done it perfectly.
Yeah.
But
Ours, I'll never forget. So we did not do marriage counseling, or we did. It's a long story, but we did marriage counseling. The person who married us was our brother-in-law, and we just it was kind of like, yeah, I'll marry you, and he did a great job at the ceremony, but like we didn't really get marriage counseling in that. So we had a lot of issues. That journey that you talked about from New York to St. Louis, that wasn't fun.
Yeah.
That was pretty messy for us. Yeah. And then you throw in our daughter getting a diagnosis when we were, I think, at year 7 of marriage, and we already had kind of some baggage from the first 5 years. It was pretty messy, and we were like, let's go to marriage counseling. Like I can't figure this out. You're not figuring this out. We're not figuring this out together, and we're not working. And for the health of our family, for the health of each other, we got to get this right. And the game changer for us was when she sat us down, she listened to both of us talk, and then she just kind of sat there and she goes, Neil, you care too much. And I went, yep, totally get that. She goes, Emily, you don't care at all. She was like, yep, totally get that.
That's awesome.
And she literally, this has kind of saved our marriage of meet in the middle. She said, Neil, you need to not care as much. Emily, you need to care a little bit more, and meet each other in the middle. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. She's like, yeah, I can do that too. And like game-changing moment, but we probably could have gotten that advice prior to us getting married.
Would have helped.
Marriage counseling, or not marriage counseling, pre-marriage counseling.
Oh, it's critical.
It's huge. I can't like advocate for that enough.
Yeah, our pre-marriage workshop at Southland, it's so good.
Yeah.
And the content's really been thought through. And
I know people who've gone through it who haven't necessarily been married yet, but they're close or close to getting engaged, and it may have saved conversations
it's probably the best investment you'll make in your marriage early on.
Yeah.
Save you a lot of headache, a lot of heartache.
Got to talk about that stuff beforehand, man.
Oh, yeah.
Because if not, it rears its head, and then you're...
Well, we almost did a series years ago. We cut it so many times, speaking of cutting room floor, called The Middle Ground.
Okay.
And we were going to have, politically find the middle ground, theologically find the middle ground, relationally find the middle ground. That's what our culture doesn't do. We isolate and separate from each other. And
huge swings of the pendulum.
Yeah, and these huge gaps. And usually both extremes are wrong. Jesus was able to live in the middle. It's fascinating between the Sadducees and the Pharisees. One was liberal, one was conservative. Jesus was right in the middle on most subjects. And there's a ton of wisdom in that, instead of taking the extreme and going, man, this is my kickball. I'm going home. You guys can't play anymore. Yeah. And that's what we do. We throw tantrums in every relationship. So middle ground's a great place to live. Yeah. You had a good counselor.
Oh, man. And Southland helped us out with that. That's good. It was good. What else did we leave on the cutting room floor?
Yeah, the idea of past sexual experiences creating soul ties. I'm hearing this more and more. People have been very promiscuous before marriage. They found the person they want to be married to, sincerely committed to them, but every so often there's a memory associated with that person from the past. How do you break that? How do you? Because sex creates a tie, creates a really deep level of connection. It's not this flippant thing where you just have a one-night stand and move on. Yeah. And a lot of people are so unsettled. And they don't know because they don't know Jesus, so they don't have the Holy Spirit. They just know something's really wrong in their lives. Like I can tell you hundreds of people I've met with over the years, that's the case. And I'll ask them, were you sexually active in your past? And most of them say, yeah. And when you hear the numbers of people, I'm like, well, part of you was left with each of those people in your past. Yeah. And so only God can help you reclaim that and get that part of you back. And I'm seeing a lot of that in counseling with people and they have this regret. They're embarrassed to talk to their spouse about their spouse is not being judgmental. They're like, no, I'm with you and I'm committed to you, but we got to work through this. Yeah. And
That's scary.
Oh, it is scary. Yeah. And it's it's also painful because a lot of those sexual experiences were not healthy and not good. And sometimes they don't even remember, they're at parties and they were on drugs or they got drunk. And so just helping people navigate that, that's part of that journey. And I had to cut that out as well.
Yeah, that's good. You had mentioned in your sermon here you aren't the only one, which I think kind of ties into what you had talked about. Is we feel like one of the greatest lies that we're told is, well, you're the only one who's dealing with this right now. Yeah. You're the only one who's been promiscuous before marriage, and no one else is ever going to really understand what you've gone through. You probably shouldn't say anything about it. It's one of the best lies that we're told is you're alone in this. And one of the best truths is when you hear someone go,
Not
oh,
at all.
me too.
Yeah, not at all.
I've been there. I know exactly what that's like. And man, there's something that's freeing. There's something that's really beautiful about that picture of what did you say? Yeah, you too, that question. I love that.
Yeah. And I think that's common in every marriage relationship. You have a lot of people who think, my parents were a terrible example. I don't want to imitate them. That much I know. But they've never really talked it out. And why haven't they? Because there's a lie they've been told by Satan that revealing that's going to cost you something. And it's like, no, holding it back is. Which you want to conceal, you probably need to reveal. We say that a lot. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. So if your dad was angry and was just not nice to your mom, or your mom was a bitter person and just always kept score, well, you got to go with your buddies. Now it's my night out. If that's the example you had growing up, you need to flesh that out with someone. Probably the person you're going to be married to, but maybe with someone else, and go, hey, I want to undo that. I don't want that to carry over, and I'm going to need you to hold me accountable. We all pick up these negative habits along the way, and we really do think we're the only ones that are wrestling with some kind of dysfunction. It's like, hey, no one comes from a perfect family. No parents have ever parented perfectly. So my parents were wise enough to put a blank sheet of paper in front of Allison and I and go, the cool thing about your wedding day, you get to build on the good things that your parents did and leave all the bad things behind. Totally. You get a blank sheet, and you get to do this based on your personalities and how God made you. Now, there's some ingredients that every marriage needs to have, but that was so helpful for me. And that's what got me excited about being with Allison was I thought, well, I do want to improve upon it. And my parents were wise enough to go, we want you to. Like, we're cheering for that. And before my dad...
Don't do what we already did.
Yeah, man, before my dad died, he pulled each of us in a room individually and apologized for things. Wow. One of the healthiest things I've ever seen a grown man do, especially for my oldest brother. Man, I want to make sure I do that with my kids, but I'm doing it along the way. I'm like, hey, kids,
don't wait till the very end. Do it
I screwed some stuff
up
along the way, and I never heard an apology until the end, and that's an important thing to do. So, again, blank sheet of paper. Man, I get to do it differently than even my dad did, and my dad was a phenomenal dad. So,
wow, that's awesome, man. What else do you? I think I see one other piece in there.
Yeah, so the whole selfishness, selflessness tension in us. I talked about this. It was in a previous message on let the cross be your yardstick or your ruler for marriage. We have these weird gauges for marriage, and really the cross is the best example because Jesus goes to the cross, takes responsibility for things he wasn't guilty of, and he lays his life down for us. So he demonstrates what sacrifice looks like. But he also serves us in that process. Like, it's such a selfless act. And I think every day we have to wake up and go, man, what does cruciformity look like in my life? Like, how do I die to myself so that my wife can live a better life? Well, the fascinating thing is when you empty yourself, God fills you back up. So I think to the world, that's such a crazy thing because it's always about me and your own time and what are you going to get out of this? And man, if your mindset is what am I going to get, you're gonna lose in marriage. It's got to be about what I can give, no strings attached. And I'll give you an example. So I woke up the other night on the couch in the basement. I just dozed off. I'm such an old man, and I don't even know what I was watching.
That's awesome.
But I woke up, and on the coffee table was a bottle of water and something else. I can't even remember that Allison had brought down for me in case I decided just to stay down there for the night. And it's so simple. She didn't want to wake me up. She did it quietly. And so the next morning I was like, it's those little things, man, that build up and add up over the course of your marriage. And so that was, again, it's like a competition with us, and it becomes a fun thing, but it brings so much joy and so much gratitude that when you do have moments where you want to be angry or frustrated, you remember that bottle of water on the coffee table and you go, no, man, I married a great person. And that helps. So the cross. Looking at your spouse through the visual of the cross and go, man, how do I serve her the way Jesus has served me? The only way to do it is if I die to myself. It's hard.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's hard. But the more you do it, the better it gets.
Brings us back to Philippians 2 that we've talked about.
Through the whole series.
That he humbled himself in the point of death on a cross. But there's also another part of the 2 verse 3 that says, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interests of others. That's not just strangers. That first and foremost needs to be those around you.
People closest to you.
Yeah. Look, I think in the Message version it says, forget yourself long enough to lend a helping hand. And man, that's kind of the visual I have for at least myself when I'm thinking of my wife. It's like, forget about yourself, Neil. This has nothing to do with you. This is about how you can serve your wife the best that you can. And that helps our relationship, our marriage by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, early on in marriage, Allison said something to me one time. She's like, sometimes you're kinder to other people than you are to me. Oh. And it's like, yeah, man. And that's that ministry
I get
thing
it.
where
I get it.
You feel like you're always on and you can't.
It's easy to turn it off at home, but
and give them the leftovers. And I thought, never again. I don't want that ever said about me, you know, and I apologize. She wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
But I think we're sometimes harder on the people we love the most. And because they're safe and they're close, we take it out on them. When I'm not saying take it out on other people.
Totally, yeah.
But that's the
Hopefully
stuff.
don't take it out on anyone.
Yeah, anyone. But that's the stuff we need to take to God.
Yeah.
But your spouse is definitely not the person that needs to bear the brunt of traffic frustration or career frustration or even, hey, I'm getting older and I can't do what I used to be able to do frustration. That all needs to go to God, and your spouse needs to get the good stuff.
Yeah. Man, that safety piece, I haven't thought about that until just now. I mean, I'd thought about it before, but she is the most safe space for me.
Yeah.
But in that can turn into because you're so safe, I know that you're not going to be mad at me if I'm kind of a punk to you right now because I can't be a punk to anyone else.
Yeah.
Even though I really want to be. I want to tell that person and give them a piece of my mind, but I can't. So instead I go home and I do it to her. That's not right.
Well, this plays itself out even more so in parenting.
Yeah.
Your kids come home from school, all the frustration of the day, they maybe got teased or they didn't get what they wanted on a test. Mom typically bears the brunt of all of that. Yeah. And I had to remind Allison a lot, like, they love you the most. You're the safest person in their life. Yeah. Unfortunately, you're going to be the Velcro that they're going to aim all that stuff at and let it stick. Oh, it's so hard for moms because they love their kids so deeply. Yeah. And there's such a different bond between moms and kids than dads and kids. But I saw I saw in parenting, and it also happens in marriage. She, like you said, she's safe.
Yeah.
And I haven't always handled that well.
Yeah. So in that note, as we kind of land the plane on this one, two things I wanted to hit on. One was what you just said. I don't always get that right. What do you do for couples who have been on that journey? They've hit the different sections, whether they are, in the first part in the first 5 years and they're making their way to the Mississippi River, or they're in the boring stretch of Kansas, which you said that, I was like, Kansas is the worst. I've driven that. It's not fun. The Rockies are beautiful.
There's parts of Kansas that are beautiful too.
They're hard, man. Like my wife and I have been through with our diagnosis with Hadley. That was hard.
Yeah.
That what would you say to folks who are in all the different stages? What's maybe one thing that you could kind of go, hey, no matter where you're at, here's one piece of advice that you'd give.
Yeah, I would say the stressors, whatever they may be in your life and however they come at you, you don't want those things to pull you apart. You want them to pull you guys closer together. So that's what Satan wants. Satan wants you guys to be ripped apart because of this pain or this challenge. God wants it to pull you guys closer together. So no matter what it is, you've got to lock arms and just say, hey, come hell or high water, we're staying together.
Yeah.
And we're going to get over these mountains together. I'm not going to get over them first. I'm going to get over them with you at the same exact time. And remembering that Satan's the enemy and all that, he wants that problem to feel permanent, and it's temporary. Yeah. It'll pass at some point. Yeah. Now, man, it may be a long time. Yeah. We've had some challenges in our marriage that, neither one of us are the source of any of it, but we just had to navigate it and deal with it. I think, too, it's healthy every so often in a quiet moment when your spouse is prepared for it. Give them a heads up to say, hey, I'm going to ask you this question again in a couple of days, but I want you to answer it honestly. How have I hurt you recently? Ooh. And let them talk, and let them get it out, and don't react. Listen and go, you're right. I did not handle that well, and I want to own that and apologize, but I also want to change that behavior so that doesn't happen again. So thank you for sharing that with me. And then prove to them that you won't be resentful. You won't throw a tantrum and pout and walk off.
They'll never answer that question.
They won't ever answer that question honestly again. So it's a healthy question to ask. Very few people ever Ask it or answer it with any degree of honesty.
That's scary as all get out.
It is, but it's important.
Yeah.
It's so important. And you'll stop hurting your spouse. The more you hear them and see the reaction you get when they tell you honestly, this hurt. You know? So that's a healthy thing.
Man, that's great. And then the other part that I wanted to just touch on is we're doing a wedding day event.
Yeah, man, it's so exciting.
Really, so we've done something similar back in 2008.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Crazy. We got to hear from Fadia and Jeff. Yep. But we're doing it again. Why? Why is doing something like this important? Why is that a value that we're like, hey, yeah, we're going to give you an opportunity to do this outside of like the 18-month planning that you have to do?
Yeah, I do a ton of weddings every year, and I love it. It's one of the favorite parts of my calendar. Literally every other weekend, I'm standing with a couple, helping them get married. And I would say a couple things factor into this decision. One is we've normalized a very sinful pattern in our culture of living together.
Yes.
And people actually think it's wise. I mean, I hear Christian people say, I'm so glad they're living together, they're going to figure out some stuff to see if they should get married.
Good night.
No, it's the opposite. This is going to lead them towards divorce and towards heartache. So we want to give someone the opportunity to break a cycle of sin that seems normal. And at the same time, we want to remove any of the obstacles that maybe are causing them to live together, because you also hear it's financially motivated. Sure. One of the things I've had couples do, if I can't get them to move out, I still want to be involved in their lives. I'll say, okay, I want you to live in different rooms, and I'm gonna text you every day until your wedding day. Man, just between now and your wedding day, honor purity. Don't have sex between now and then. If it's 3 months, 6 months, you guys won't move out. I wish you would, but if you won't, sleep in separate rooms. Yeah. Now, the chances of them totally being honest with me, but at least someone cares enough about them to set them up for some success. And then later you have a voice in their life when they come back and they go, man, something's wrong. Well, I can tell you what's wrong. You didn't honor God's plan. So from here on forward, you got to honor God's plan. So the goal is to set everybody up for a blessing. Like, man, we want you to receive what God intended for you because you decided to do it His way. Yeah. So it's like when people say, I lost my virginity. I'm like, well, let's go get it back. And don't give it to you don't lose your virginity. You give it to somebody, right? Well, let's go get it back. And from now until the day you get married, don't give it to anybody else. Yep. And that redemptive moment's important. It's like if you're living together, you don't have to live together. Go crash at a buddy's house for a while and just say, man, until I get married, can I stay at your house? Most people are going to be like,
it's so countercultural.
Well, again, that's why we need to do it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
that's awesome.
A lot of reasons, but those are the reasons.
Yeah, totally. Cool. All right. Well, John, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for sitting down with us today, unpacking just a little bit more of the sermon and what we left on the cutting room floor, but it was great.
Yeah, this is your sweet spot, brother. You need to be doing this all the time. I would be
I just like asking questions.
You're good at it. I would be a terrible podcast host. So.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Y'all, thanks for being with us today on the cutting room floor. We will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Cutting Room Floor, a Southland Christian Church podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you're ready every Wednesday when a new episode drops. If today's discussion made you think of someone who'd benefit, share it with them. And if you're looking to go even deeper, make sure to head over to our website for more resources.